G'day tubers, how are we people? I hope you are all well and do not have the China virus or any symptoms that go with it. Thank you to my subscribers and viewers and anyone else, as I usually say. This is just reassembly of the little Villiers lightweight. Yeah, as I say, I haven't gone crazy with the new parts and that. I didn't put new rings and that in it. They're just a little bit awkward to get. There's no gain in it. It'll run without new rings. It won't be 100%, but it'll go, and yeah, just enjoy it for what it is. So let's hook right in, guys, anyway, and get stuck into this.
Well, guys, we're finally getting into reassembly of the little lightweight alloy Villiers 75cc. Everything's all cleaned up. Got the new seals for the crankshaft. They were easy enough. As I say, I've had to make my own gaskets. Just about to start on the valves, and I've shouted myself one of these fancy small engine valve spring compressors. So yeah, just got that today. So we'll start reassembly. These bits I'll clean as I put back. I'm not putting new rings and all of that. Not hard to get, but they're going to be a bit of mucking around. And for an engine that's just a play thing, it's not a worker. I'm not spending big bucks on it. So we'll start with reassembly, and I'll put the valves in and we'll see how the new tool goes. Well, so far so good, guys. That was pretty easy. Seems to fit in there okay. Should hopefully give us enough room to put the little retaining clip on. That's a bit dark in there, I'm sorry. But if that tool works, it's well worth the money. And I thought it would have been made in China. Happily enough, it's actually made in the US of A, so that's all right. Probably of a little bit better quality. So yeah, I don't mind spending the money if I'm going to get quality. So that tool looks pretty good so far. How easy was that? That just absolutely fell in. One little trick I did learn, guys, with it already, and most of you probably know this, but I didn't because I'm not familiar with the tool. Just put that little, it's not a retainer, but a little, I suppose, a retaining sort of a thing, I don't know, it's to do with where the clip sits. Put that in the clamp as well. There wasn't quite enough room to sort of put it in afterwards, you know, so just put that in first, clamp that up as well, and yeah, the valve just absolutely fell in. Valves are in, guys. That was like a matter of minutes. So yeah, well worth the bloody $80 or whatever it was I paid for that tool. If you're buggerising around with small engines and you haven't got one, I fully suggest you get one. Next thing to go in, guys, obviously was the crankshaft seal. So that went in, no worries at all. Put in the followers in the same hole that they came out of. Then the crank, which was easy enough. Now if you look on that gear there, there's a tiny little dot. Don't know if you can make that out. That's got to line up with that little dot on the camshaft. That'll give you correct timing. So we'll see how we go with that. Of course, put plenty of pre-lube on the around where the seals go, on the lobes of the cam, on the bearing face of the cam, because there won't be any oil on startup. And as you can see, guys, when the cam's back in, that little dot lines up with the crank. That should be correct valve timing. Of course, if you don't line it up, it won't run, or it'll run real bad, or you may even do some damage. Just check the clearance, guys, valve clearance. 2 to 6, I think, if I read the book correctly. I've got a nice 6 on the inlet, which is that one. The exhaust is about 11 or 12, so it's a bit much, but don't know what I can really do about it. Yeah, I'm not going to worry. You know, unless I can't lengthen the valve and I can't lengthen the push rod. So the only other thing I can do is somehow lower the seat, and I've got no tools for doing that. So guess what? It's staying at 12th hour. Usual story, guys. When putting in a piston, obviously a bit of lube on the big end. and plenty of oil on the rings and skirts of the piston and that. Making sure that your gaps are about 120 degrees apart. So yeah, about, you know, a third of a circle if you like, whatever the case may be. So yeah, and then we just, there's a mark there that I happen to know that points towards the valves. Make sure it goes in the right way, and yeah, simple. Well, that's the pistoning, guys. Pretty straightforward pistons, you know, there's nothing too hard about them. Caps on, and if you can just, you can't really see it, there's two little marks that line up. Remember to put the little oil slinger on. Now, we haven't bent over the tabs yet because we haven't tensioned that. So the book calls for 24 to 28 inch pound, and I said inch pound, not foot pound. And that's exactly what this tension wrench does. Inch pounds, and I'm set on about 25. Unfortunately, I don't have the right sockets and that to do this. And there's not a lot of room in there once you put the tension wrench in. If I had the right socket, I might be right. But so what we're going to do is the old reliable way, and do it FT. And what's FT, you ask? F and tight. And that's the tabs bent over, guys. That'll just stop the bolts from coming loose, obviously, and yeah, destroying your engine, which we don't want to do. So we're just about ready to put the side case back on now. I can't see anything else that has to go in there, so yeah, we'll just give it a final oil and away we go. Well, that's the side case back on, guys. Pretty straightforward, really. I cut that gasket, as you know, put a little bit of silicone on it, or Silastic, just to help it seal. The only thing I don't like about that Silastic and that is it does ooze out the sides, and it can be a fair dinkum bastard to clean up, especially around castings. It always sort of looks messy, but clean it up as best you can, and hopefully we don't have any leaks. Yeah, just put the valve cover on, guys, or rocket cover, or tappet cover, or whatever you want to call it. It's just a clip. That's that little cork gasket that we cut. So that fitted in nicely, and it just clips in the side there. So yeah, that's pretty quick and straightforward. I think the next thing we can do is probably put the, start thinking about the ignition, start putting all that together in that. Well, that's the ignition plate, or breaker plate, or stator plate, or whatever you want to call it, back on. As well as the back part of the cowling. The points have not been gapped yet. Reason being is the flywheel, and there we have it there. If you can make out, there's a cam machined on that, and that's what actually opens and closes your points. So we can't do any point gap until that's back on, and that's probably going to go on next, I would imagine. So yeah. Remember, during disassembly, guys, I mentioned that there was no keyway on the crankshaft. So what you have to do, and if you look closely, is number one, put your piston firing top dead centre, so both valves closed, top dead centre. Number two, have a look at your flywheel, and if you look, right there is a little arrow, and right there, that little notch in the casting, is the other arrow. The two arrows have to line up with the piston on top dead centre, and then that then times everything correctly. Apparently, we won't know until, of course, we try to start it. Probably a bit dark, tubers, but there's the points in there. That's that screw that we thought we lost. There's a nice 12 thou in there. I don't know if you can see that. Also recommends 12 to 15 thou on the flywheel itself, but yeah, seems to be all right. So we should, by rights, have a spark. We're going to try that in a second. That's that little two arrows I was talking about, tubers. Very hard, but if you line up the two on top dead centre, valves closed, that's your timing done. So flywheel's on, I haven't got a spark yet. I don't know if it's just what I've done or maybe I'm not spinning it quick enough. Anyway, we'll keep going. Cylinder head's on, guys. I had to use the old gasket, which is which it was serviceable, but I'd rather put a new one. But I used the old one because I can't bloody well get them. Yeah, just always do them down evenly into the required tension, whatever it is. Yeah, simple as that, really. Nothing too much about putting a little flathead cylinder on. Manifolds on, guys. Pretty straightforward, really, sort of. Yeah, nothing really to tell you about that. Carby's on, pretty straightforward, guys. Yeah, it just slides in over that manifold, just nip it up and that's done. Much the same as the exhaust. Just screws in there, you just screw it in all the way, aim your outlet and just nip up the nut to secure it, and that's it. That's the side cowling on. Starting to look like an engine once again, guys. I just hope she goes alright. I still don't know about that spark yet. Just screwing around with the pull start, guys, just getting the gap right. It's pulling up a little bit tight anyway. But we have found out we have got spark. I just pulled it over and was touching the lead and give me a hell of a fucking bang. So, yeah, she should be a goer. Well, there she is, tubers. The little Villiers lightweight 75cc is done. Except for, I've got to make up a little bracket for this, the throttle, to go somewhere. And I haven't put the air cleaner on. I've got an element. I haven't put the air cleaner on yet because I may have to prime it a bit or whatever to get it to go. Just got to put oil in it and juice, and she should be a runner with a bit of luck. Well, that's it, guys. The little Villiers done. Runs, it's all right, but it's got a lot of blow by in that. It's pretty down on compression, as you know. She's a bit smoky too. Don't know with the tank. That's just sandblasted aluminium. I don't know whether to paint it or maybe polish it up. Don't even know if it's worth doing it. But it runs, it goes. It's all right. You know, look, its main value would be to a kid or someone who wanted to learn about engines, that they can play with it and pull it apart. But it does go. Not too bad, but yeah, she's down on compression. But that's a little Villiers done and dusted, guys. See you on the next one.